Oh, you're no. I'm recording right now, so you're good to go.
Welcome everybody to Foot Care for Sprint Mushers. We've got Riley and Emily who will be demonstrating and showing us some tools and tricks. Okay, so I'm Riley and I run Open Class Sprint. And let's see. Okay. Oh, that was bothering me too. It's like echo. So we have a kennel of about 45 dogs, and as you'll see, our first topic is genetics. And in our specific kennel, we have really poor genetics for feet. So I spend a lot of time working on feet. And I don't know everything. I'm not a doctor or a scientist, but I spend a lot of time with the dogs. So I'm just going to share what I've learned over the last 10, 15 years. And maybe you have some tips too. And if you do, I'd love to hear them. Nothing's perfect and we're always looking for better ways. So I don't know where I was going with that. I'm sorry. And we'll find even between, generally, right, we think distance kennels tend to have better feet, less foot problems, right, than sprint kennels or hounds. But we'll see even between sprint kennels, even with our own kennel, we have a lot of genetic differences. So, your first thing is if you're breeding, you want to breed the dogs with the good feet because that is a trait that really follows through if you breed the dogs with the bad feet. But sometimes, it's your best dog and they have bad feet. And I don't know, that's our main stud had bad feet, but he was just like a super dog. So, we're trying to breed him into dogs with better genetics. And even we'll see between sprint and distance, you can see these sprint dogs here, like how they're landing on their feet and pushing off from them. It's not gentle, right? They're running as hard as they can. Their paws are wide open and they're pushing off. So that leaves a lot of vulnerable area. So our biggest problem is fissures is mostly what I'm going to address in my portion here. And you have genetic things to say.
Yeah, I'm Emily. I'm a distance musher. My husband and I have 36 Alaskan Huskies. I'm not really big into racing. I do a lot of training though, so I know some stuff, but not everything. But from a distance standpoint, I can really hear myself echoing right now. From a distance standpoint, you're talking about like durability over a long distance versus the sprint mushing. It's a lot like faster, harder for a shorter period of time. So when I'm talking about like long distance sled dogs, their foot care, I also am taking into consideration genetics, and I know that I've had conversations with people in recent years that like good feet aren't super common anymore. So seeing a lot of people bootying their dog's feet for training runs starting like early season. My theory is more so, if your dogs have exposure to surfaces in the summer months, like maybe you can take them for, I'm not going to recommend you take your dogs like ripping down the road full speed on gravel, but if you're doing summer tours or taking your dogs for walks, it is good to almost like callus their pads on rougher surfaces. My dogs run summer tours and camp on gravel all summer, so I have noticed that really helps with their feet and like kind of building up that toughness. But in the fall, when you start fall training, like you shouldn't really be having to booty your dog's feet right off the bat, right? Like that's a sign that genetically your dogs have bad feet. And then if you are doing your own breedings, that's not a dog I would recommend breeding. Like Riley said, there is always a chance that, you breed a good dog with good feet too, and then also their offspring doesn't carry over. But if you have the option, try and breed dogs with good feet. you, I would say, theoretically should start bootying your dogs for distance once you start getting into like 20 plus miles. So like right now in training with my dogs, we're just kind of hitting that 25 to 30 mile threshold, and now just starting to see a little bit of fissures, but the biggest problem with long distance sprint dogs is like little rubs on their pads, right? So you might come back from a run and see like a little bit of like a raw spot or a little bloody spot potentially, and that's when you need to start bootying more frequently. I've got some samples of booties too, and we can talk more about that, but yeah, for genetics, definitely keep that in mind. That is a really important trait that you want to try and breed into your kennels.
And I think, you know, another big difference with our sprint and distance is we can't use booties all that much because the dogs lose traction, especially when it's a hard trail or icy or anything. So you're kind of like, maybe my dog has a foot injury, but is it gonna get a shoulder injury if I booty it? So what we try to do is booty evenly, both sides, so they're not kind of almost spinning out, right? And we just do the back feet. We very, very rarely will booty a front foot. Only, I'd rather lay the dog off for 3 weeks than risk it having a shoulder injury, honestly. And what we found, it takes, you know, 2 to 3 weeks to actually totally heal a fissure. But occasionally in a race, or if the trail is soft enough that they can get a little, I don't know, traction or grip in the snow, we'll do that. But usually it's only the back feet, and you know, a lot of trail maintenance. We spend a lot of time on trail maintenance to have a nice smooth surface for the dogs. We can't have those little hard snowballs and ice balls because they'll get fissures like that rainstorm that we had. Our trail was just destroyed. We spent so many nights out there shoveling snow so that it's nice for the dogs, and they're still already getting fissures. So I don't know. It's yeah.
Can you describe what a fissure?
Yeah, I have some pictures in a little bit, and they're not great because it's just me trying to hold the dog's foot open and take a picture. But they basically, in between their main pad and their toe pads, they'll get slits in the skin. Like the skin just cracks open.
In between the skin that's in between the pads.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah,
where
like
the fur is.
skin, like the webbing or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep.
Um,
And it just splits. It's a narrow, long crack, and it splits open. They're not usually bloody or anything, but they'll be like weepy. And one of our main things, we start the dogs when they're really young, when they're yearlings, when they're puppies. All summer, I go out there and just mess with their feet, so they're used to having their feet played with. And that will help you later when you're trimming nails too. But
nail trimming, bootying,
yeah.
Start doing nail trimmings like as puppies, you know, every couple of weeks really to get them used to it.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I wanted to ask is, who here has dogs with dew claws? Anybody? Okay, so do you have the dew claws?
No, we take them off, but we have a couple that have them in it.
Yeah, like some people, if you're buying adult dogs from other kennels, or maybe there's a few mushers who get dogs from the shelter, they have dew claws. I remove my dog's dew claws. There is mixed science behind, mixed studies behind whether or not these are actually beneficial or not for sled dogs. There is some studies that show that removing dew claws can lead to more wrist injuries. I personally have not seen a correlation in this. The evolutionary trait of a dew claw is for running and balance. This is more important for like maybe sprint dogs or agility dogs. Do you have a question?
No, I was gonna say, there's a tendon right there, so
Yes.
that's the.
Yeah, so when, they're puppies, like a few days old, if you were removing dew claws, that hasn't really like developed yet. And so it's not going to cause like an injury. Whereas if you get dew claws removed on an adult dog, it's like equivalent to an amputation. Yes.
Are these the ones that are like?
Yeah, the one up here.
Mhm.
So if you do have dogs with dew claws, totally fine. There are plenty of distance mushers too who have dogs with dew claws. One of my neighbors, she ran all of Iditarod. Half of her dogs have dew claws. The only thing you would have to do is you would need to wrap them, right? So you have a booty, you have vet wrap. I don't have a dog with dew claws.
Share screen.
Leave that dog in there. Mom, come here. He's like forgotten all about me. Who are you?
They forgot what
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I'll get it
Now you
next
go
time.
into my. My apologies.
Okay, there we go.
Connection.
Okay, go ahead. Take the floor.
Where were we?
I was just starting to talk about nail trimming a little bit.
Okay. Does everyone know how to trim their dog's nails? So when you try, I had a pair. Oh, you have a pair. I had a pair in my truck and they weren't in there anymore. But so these are nail trimmers, right? And I'm not gonna cut my finger, but when you're trimming the dog's nail, you're gonna put it in there and snip, right? And the dogs will have, right, the quick underneath, which is like the skin part, and then the nail hanging over, so it's really easy to see in dogs with white nails, right? Not so much with the ones in black. So you know, sled dogs aren't always the calmest creatures, right? So we like to do ours right when we get back from a run and the dogs are tired. We find that helps a lot, and like Emily was saying, handling them as puppies helps a lot too.
Yeah. I always cut mine pretty. I don't cut them short enough all the time just because most of my dogs have black nails. I'm always really worried about cutting it quick. It's not gonna, it's not gonna like be a big deal if you do cut it quick. It'll bleed a little bit, but it'll stop, or you can put like some super glue on the end.
Yeah, or the Stiptix powder.
Oh, nice. You have something for that? Cool.
Yeah, or you can get those silver nitrate little, it's like a stick with a little, it looks like a Q-tip but solid, but it has silver nitrate on the end, and that stings them a little bit, but it stops the bleeding, yeah.
But yeah, definitely frequent nail trimmings for my dogs. I would say like for distance dogs in the winter, they're getting their nails trimmed like once a month. In the summer, it's not a big deal just because if you're like, your dogs are free running or doing tours and they're on like gravel or dirt or whatever, usually they just kind of naturally get worn down in the summer months. It's just really in the winter when there's nothing, there's no like hard surfaces, you're gonna have to cut their nails at least once a month. And then I guess maybe we should talk a little bit about nail health, pad health too. I see on your slide there for nutrition, like the important things. So most like high quality dog kibbles have all these things included. If you have a well-balanced kibble, you don't generally need to add too many supplements to your dog's diet. The biggest benefit for all of those nutritional things is, overall really good for them, but you'll see the benefits really showing through in their pad health and their nail health too. Just like us, if we don't have the right balance of minerals, our nails are kind of like flimsy and break easily. Same with the dogs. My dogs eat salmon. I'm very lucky I can still get pinks from the hatchery in Valdez. I know it's pretty hard for people to get fish for their dogs nowadays because we can't fish for tons anymore. But even if you do like fish oil, you want to get a lot of omega-3s, or you can feed a kibble that has a lot of fish oil or fish meal in it. But salmon, fish oil, that's going to be really good for your dog's gut health as well. Give your dogs any supplements in addition?
We do fish oil, and we add like an oil blend that has fish in it too. We do powdered krill, which has a lot of antioxidants, so that's benefiting them on other levels too with oxidative stress and everything. One thing we started doing, and it's like, we didn't do a study on it, and every year the trail conditions are so different, so I can't say, with 100% certainty, this is the thing that's working. But we've been giving all the racing dogs and training dogs collagen, and we started it mostly for their joint health, but it's seeming like it's helping in other areas too with their coat and their nails and pads.
That's cool.
So you can get, we just buy supplements at Costco, and they're probably not the best, but when you're trying to maintain the health of your whole kennel, right? And, cost does matter at some point, right? So we get either powder that you can mix right in with the feed bucket, or you can get pills. And I just wear like a carpenter belt, the little tool pouch, and I'll put like my collagen in one pocket, my fish oil in the other, the glucosamine in this one, and any medications in the other. And so I can, when I go feed, I can just throw pills in every pail. Another thing that a lot of people use is zinc. Okay, and zinc is really good for your skin, and I don't know, nails too?
I don't know about nails,
I'm not sure, but
I think it's really good for everything.
great. So you can get little, I didn't have any, but they come in like a small container like this, and it's powdered zinc, and it comes with this teeny weeny little spoon that you give one dog a spoonful each night. And you do have to be very, very careful to not overload on zinc, because it can cause the dogs to go in kidney failure. So you're not going to want to mix that in your whole feed bucket, because each dog needs such a tiny bit. You have to give that separately to each dog. That's super important, right? Or if you have a dog with kidney problem, you might not want to supplement it. Okay. There's also a product called Omega Derm that comes in like a squirt bottle, and it's an omega oil with a zinc supplement in it, and you can just give a little squirt of that to each dog too. That's a little more pricey than just getting the powdered stuff, but I do think that has helped us.
Yeah. I have quite a few friends who do give additional zinc supplement. I don't. We feed Inukshuk, and I love that food, swear by it. everyone has their own opinions about food, dog food, so I'm not here to tell you like one food's better than another, but I have noticed with that food, like they keep weight on really well. You kind of get better bang for your buck as far as like nutrient density, and then as far as like the minerals in there, it's very well balanced. I've seen a huge, just like big improvements in their feet, their coats, their teeth, things like that. Their poop, obviously that's important too. So I'm happy to, if anyone wants to talk about dog kibble later, yeah, I would love to talk about it. But yeah, like I said, ideally, if you do have a well-balanced kibble, high quality, you shouldn't have to be giving your dogs too many extra supplements. Of course, all dogs are individuals, just like us. Some people need more of one mineral than another. So, yeah, like Riley was saying, you don't want to like overdo it and put too much in your dog's food bucket. So it was, in that circumstance, would be better to put in your dog's food individually.
Because like the different nutrients can either enhance or block absorption. So when you start messing with one thing, then you're messing with everything. And like, I'm gonna leave that to the nutritionist.
Yeah.
I'm not a biochemist, but
Do you guys have any questions so
You got a
far?
question over here.
okay, yeah.
Back to like the nail clipping thing, what if they have long clicks?
So what we do if they're long is you just start trimming back a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, and it's gonna take a while, but over time, you can reseed them a little bit.
Because obviously, like the longer you wait,
The
the
longer
longer the quick grows. Yeah. Good question.
Anyone else? And so like my number one thing about not getting splits is keeping the dogs hydrated, right? This is in my opinion, the very most important thing. Because what we see, it gets cold, the dogs get stressed, they don't want to drink, okay? Keeping your dog warm and happy and not stressed, they will drink better. Okay, we're boxing dogs already. We do it all winter. That is also going to help any wounds heal. But again, we have more poundy dogs. They have like, I don't know, as far as sprint dogs go, they have a decent coat. But nothing compared to. We have some Alaska Huskies like with good coats, but the dogs love being in the box. They're happier, they're healthier, they're warmer, they heal faster, they drink better. We have an enclosed trailer with a heater in it, and every dog box gets one of these pails. Okay, and they can get a scoop of water at night and drink it overnight. If it's too cold and it's freezing, we give them, we take it away after an hour and dump it out or whatever. But if you're hydrating from the inside out, you're gonna keep your skin moist, you're gonna keep it supple, and it's not gonna split as much. And that's like a lot of these products that we use, the oils and creams, that's really the goal of that. Is you might think, I don't want my dog's feet to be soft because they're gonna be like not strong,
Vulnerable, yeah.
But if you think about your hands when they get dry in the winter time, they crack, right? You get splits and they crack, and it's the same thing with the dogs. Do I need to do it again?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I need to change my screensaver, huh?
You're right. The computer's still connected, but the presentation part is not.
Okay.
And while Riley's doing that, I guess then I can segue then into like foot ointment. So, for distance dogs, what we do, has everybody seen pink ointment before? So this is like the most common thing for distance mushers to use on their dog's feet, long training runs and racing. So this is kind of hard to come by nowadays. The only place that I'm aware of that sells this is Dr. May at Golden Heart. He still makes this. He doesn't always have it in stock, but sometimes if you call ahead, he'll do a batch and have it for sale. I want to say like this big tube here costs like $60, but this tube, my husband's had this for over a decade. So a little goes a long way. It smells really good too. I'm honestly not quite sure what's in it, but it does. I think there's zinc ointment in here, so zinc is really healing. So a little goes a long way. You literally would take like that much. Monk, Chi-Chi, come here. Come here, baby. So I guess I'll just demonstrate if you guys can see. So you take like a tiny little bit and you're just gonna like, say there's a fissure or a rub or something, you're just gonna cover the affected area. And I can, we can do another demo on this later, but you're just gonna cover the affected area with very little of it. Whether you just wanna like put that on at the end of a run, great. If you're doing multiple runs, right, like you're out camping or doing a race, you can put that stuff on inside of the booty. I personally don't recommend putting like a liquid thing on your dog's feet and then just like sitting out at 20 below zero for several hours while they're camping. I would recommend like putting it on before your next run inside of the booty, or at the end of the day when they're going to be warm inside of their house or something, just zip it off. But as long as it gets some contact on there, then that's good. So this stuff is great. Highly recommend this. Like I said, I have a slide that has all this like product information later if you guys want to write it down. But Dr. Mark May at Golden Heart makes this. Riley, did you see that Arlie Reynolds makes this stuff?
Yeah, they used to, so they still at, Lena over there will make it, and you have to ask for the kind without aspartame, but I don't know, how much they normally sell of it too. We're neighbors, so we just, I don't know
got
if we
the
get a neighbor deal or what, but,
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
like buy this stuff online. I tried to look it up the other day. I was like, pink goo.
I've had it done for like 17 years. It doesn't go bad.
If you could let me know, that'd be great. Yeah, it lasts forever.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times, like if you're doing a distance race, like their vets will have this stuff with them. They like will often give it out like in little like 2-ounce plastic containers. So that one in itself will last quite a long time. Another thing, you can buy this stuff online. I mean, I don't really use it because I love the pink glue so much, but Musher Secret. You can find it online. It's pretty inexpensive. This one is more of like a wax-based one. So that's another thing. It's definitely like, I would suggest stuff like this or this brand. It's just like for your pet dogs, but like if you're more of like a recreational musher, or even if you just have like a retired sled dog or you're ski joring or something, a little bit less intense, like stuff like this will be fine, right? Like you don't need to track down this like rare and elusive pink goo, but this would work just fine. It's just like, creating a little bit of a barrier. It helps with healing cracks or fissures, and these are all made with like non-toxic ingredients, obviously, because dogs love to lick things off of their feet. So, yeah, do you guys have any questions about ointment?
So you mainly put that on when the dog does have a crack or fissure or a
Yeah.
black spot? It's not that you put it on every single
No,
time?
some people do.
so for us, we do it differently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you go ahead.
I'll go, when you're
Okay.
done, I'll
Okay.
go through all, we have like 8,000 products.
Yeah, so like Riley was saying, like their dogs are very different than my dogs. Genetically, my dogs have really tough feet, so I don't use this stuff unless I see a boo-boo on there. I know some distance mushers do just put it on after every run. I think that's overkill. but it just depends on your dog's feet, really.
Do you cut the hair on the pet?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, it's so hair trimming your dog's feet. I'm really sorry if you were gonna talk about this.
No, we don't do that. So
Okay.
Go for it,
Yeah, so I have a few dogs that I trim their fur on their feet, like in between their pads and toes and stuff. So the benefit to that is that they're less likely to get snowballs, right? Running down the trail, depending on the snow texture, you know, certain snow types do certain things. If you have really dry snow, it's more abrasive, so then you need to worry more about getting like pad injuries. When we have a little bit more humidity in our snow and it's wetter, it clumps up and makes ice balls. That's what's getting in between your toes and cause splits more frequently. So some people are like religious about trimming their dog's toe hair. Really don't do it a lot unless I have like a dog with like elfish feet, you know, that like crazy elf fur. That's what I call it. They look at little elf toes, right? Because they have so much fur. But generally speaking, I don't trim my dog's fur in their feet.
For our house dogs, for the goldens, we have to do it, I don't know how.
That's what I find
Always
with golden.
They can walk 100 yards and have
So many
ice balls.
snowballs.
There's no way, we have to
Yeah, German
shape it.
shepherds too, people have
Yeah.
told me.
But with the sledger, I mean, we don't run that far.
Yeah, and so
We've
like,
never seen anything, so I was wondering whether
Right.
that's something that it's recommended to do.
you can, so I literally just take hair clippers. My husband's not stoked that I keep taking his to trim the dogs. So get your own designated dog clippers. But I'm just too lazy to buy a separate pair. So you can just like shave.
Yeah.
You want to leave a little fur, right? It's natural for dogs to have fur in between their toes, so don't like shave it down to bare skin. Or you can take scissors if you know your dog's really calm and just like trim the fur. Don't recommend sharp hair cutting scissors if your dog's like crazy or whatever. But yeah, just clippers. So if you're not running super long distances, or like say you do tours with your dogs, or you're stopping a lot out on the trail, like dogs will stop and chew snowballs out of their toes.
Yeah.
Right. So the reason that mushers also like distance mushers are putting booties on is because you're going for like potentially 6-7 hours, only stopping briefly to like snack your dogs every couple hours or drink some coffee on the trail or whatever. Whereas like if I'm at a day of tours, like my dogs can stop every 30 minutes and
Yeah.
chew snowballs out of their toes. So it just really depends on what you're doing with your dogs. If you are like training for long distance races, you are booting your dogs, you don't really need to worry too much about trimming the toe hair. If you just want like a little bit lower maintenance, less bootying, yeah, it could be worth it. Yeah. Did you have a question?
Well, I just wondered if pushers often use those ointments to help repel snowballs too. Is that something that
We do.
it's used for?
We do. We do.
Yeah.
We put it on, we mostly run tours, like, used to race, not very much anymore, but we do mushers, we do lightly trim the dogs that have super fuzzy paws, but I was gonna say, cause you guys were asking the questions about it, we put Musher Secrets on before a run, and it basically becomes like a hard wax
Yeah,
once they touch the
wax,
cold
right.
snow, and no ice balls. Because we have a few dogs in the kennel, even with short, like Nitro, he'll sit there, like he'll run a mile down the trail for a tour and get an ice ball. And you're like, how? And like all the other dogs are fine, but if you put Musher Secret on him, it like he won't get an ice ball for hours.
Yeah.
So we do it before. I have never used Musher Secret like after. For splits, we've used the pink stuff. But I'm sure it works great. But yeah, the Musher Secret was great for before.
Yeah, we use that for the.
It's
puppies as
it's
well.
great.
Yeah, like I don't have a lot of experience with this stuff.
It's
so
really
that
great.
sounds-
Yeah, for
I
ice
use
ball,
it
like
for
for
all the golden
yeah.
retrievers as well, because
Yeah,
it's
it's
only,
wax based.
otherwise
it's more
they cannot walk
repellent.
in the winter.
Yeah, whereas this stuff is more like
Like peel, more of a
yeah,
peel.
it's
I
more
would
of an
think.
ointment
Yeah.
versus a wax. So I personally wouldn't say, hey, put a bunch of this ointment on your dog's feet without booties and send them down the trail. But
And also, that's really expensive. So So yeah, so we have a variety of products we use. This section is like to keep the ice balls off. We oil their feet every time before we run. I started the beginning of November. Every run, I oil every dog's foot. My favorite product is the CFL3 from 10 Squared. Really, basically, this is like peanut oil infused with herbs and then mineral oil. Okay, so the mineral oil is repelling that snow, it's repelling the moisture, and then the peanut oil is easily absorbable into the skin. And we have stuff like comfrey or rose hips to help healing and to help moisturize and keep that skin pliable so it's less likely to split. I do this, this is like conditioning for their feet. And I don't know, this is my favorite product. Some people use Zeus juice. This is just mineral oil with lavender essential oil. I have a bunch of bottles of this and I doctor it up with other stuff like what's in this. I make my own also at home, but I've found that buying this in bulk and just putting it in these cool little bottles, they have a little nozzle and you just need like 1 drop per pad, right? But every time I'm training, I'm basically like doing, 200 feet, right? So it's a lot. But you just put it in between their toes in the pad, 1 drop, and just rub it in where all that fur is. And we have one dog that has really long furry feet, and we should trim her fur, but we don't. But if you just put the oil on it, it keeps the snowballs off. But again, if that's your house dog, they're gonna probably track oil inside, right? And what I found, we run open, so we're running, at our peak, we're running 25 or 30 miles, and this does not hold up for that long, okay? Like if you're running a limited class, this is probably gonna be fine. This stuff seems to have a little more thickness to it, and the stuff I make, I just infuse peanut oil with different herbs and add a few like black seed oil and onion seed and carrot seed oil to it. And I think it's half mineral oil and half peanut oil. So it's just a little bit thicker and it lasts a little bit longer. Some folks use this. I'm not sure if you can even buy it anymore, but it's linseed oil. I just opened it last year, but we've had it for a while. Turpentine, menhaden oil, beeswax, and fir. And so evergreen spruce that is like super, super healing. It's actually something I should start putting into mine. It's really good for chaplets. But I opened it up last year and thought it was going to be like thick and I could put it on as an ointment, but it's super thin and it goes everywhere. But if you're out of other oil, you can paint their feet with that and it's a big mess, but it works, right? And then we have other ointments. We use this a lot. This is called Corona. It's actually for horses, and this is pretty pricey too, but this is like, I think our second most important product that we use. I can hand it around too. It's called Corona. And it's more wax-based, I think, than the other stuff. But this is what we use when we're racing, and it's what we use when our dogs already have fissures and we're going out training. And it's soft right now, right? But when it gets cold, like we're saying with the other stuff, it hardens right up and it makes a nice waxy layer and it really holds up in between their toes. This is what we use when we go to Rondi. This is what we use at North American. Like, I would like them to sponsor me. If Corona's watching, you could sponsor our kennel. That would be great. Another thing that's a little more cost effective you can use is Desitin, this purple one. This is the one, right? This is a little bit thicker. This also has the zinc oxide in it. So it is going to help them heal a little bit. You can see it's a little thicker, and when you're outside putting it on, it gets a lot thicker too. And I personally feel it holds up as well as the Corona, but we use it a lot more because it is more cost effective. But zinc oxide is going to help with the healing, but what it also does, it's diaper cream, right? And so it's making that protective barrier, drawing a lot of the moisture out. Okay, even though it is a cream, it's still drawing that like weepy moisture out. So that does help. And okay, I guess that's what I have for, pre-treatment products, and we use different ointments to help heal them, okay, once they already have the fissure. So I make my own. I have a herbal product company, so I make my own salves that I use on my dogs. And I use a lot of like cottonwood buds and yarrow and plantain and comfrey. So those are like antibacterial, those encourage cell regeneration, and they're like antiseptic. So it's really good. Again, it's more pricey, and I'm not treating the whole kennel with that. But when they have a fissure, okay, number one also, there's a lot of number ones, right? But check your dog's feet every time you hook up, every time you unhook, check them all the time. Because these dogs, you're gonna think, this dog has the best feet in the world, and then all of a sudden, boom, they're hamburger, right? So when you come in from a run and you see fissures, the first thing we do is iodine spray while they're clean. Okay, and that's gonna help clean them out, and they get boxed in a kennel with just wood chips. And that also helps draw a lot of the moisture out. And then we go through this like routine, and this is just like we've tried 8,000 different products and what works the best, right? So what we do is we like to put powder on at night and cream in the morning. So right before bedtime, when we're ready to box them up, we put powder on. What I use right now is this Penetrax, also from 10 Squared. You can use Gold Bond. Okay, what you're gonna do is get one of these little chalk dispensers from Home Depot or whatever, those, and it works really good because you can get it just a little bit, a little squeeze, and right in between, right on the fissure, and that's gonna help dry all that weepiness out. These also are mostly zinc oxide. This has cornstarch. That's also just helping drying that moisture out so that the wound can come together to heal. This also has aloe vera in it, right? This, what we were using before is Gold Bond medicated. Okay, this works fine. I still recommend putting it in one of these bottles. This is the best thing. You can also get from your vet, this is called Neocred F. Okay, you cannot use this when you're racing because it has analgesics and steroids in it, okay? This is like within 2 weeks of a race. Before that, you need to stop using it. But it will help heal it a little bit faster. It has antibiotics. It has tetracaine. And you can't use the analgesics, you can't use the steroids. If the dogs lick it, if it gets into their bloodstream, you do not want that if you're competitively racing, right? But if it's like now, you can use it, right? And you need 2 or 3 weeks, okay, before a race, you need to stop using it. And then in the morning, like we use this SSD cream, it's sulfadiazine. I don't know if I'm saying that right, honestly, but the silver in there helps it heal a lot. And you could also just use like bacitracin or an antibiotic ointment, but I don't know. I believe in the stuff and I prefer it.
One note on antibiotic ointment for your dogs, it's not ideal to have it where they can look at it because I guess there have been studies that link human antibiotic ointments to dog deafness.
Really?
But yeah,
Okay, so don't use those.
if you want to put a booty on top of it, right, that's fine.
Yeah.
Right, but that goes for like any sort of injury of your dog. Like if you put human antibiotic ointment on it, just try and make it so they can't lick it. Of course, like it would probably take pretty large quantities of it to like have that effect, but obviously just try and limit ingesting antibiotic ointment. Yeah. Oh yeah, and so you mentioned the silver stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, silver is such a great product. I don't know where we've had a tube of that stuff like the liquid version of that basically.
And yeah, this is a really thin, it's a very thin
Yeah,
cream. It's a
so
cream, but it's like, it's
it
almost liquid.
lasts
Yeah.
forever. Like you don't need a lot of that stuff, but it's so awesome for yourself too. If you get frostbite, that stuff's great from fingertips. But same for your dogs. Yeah, we've had a couple dogs that have like frost nipped their sheets before. That stuff is really great for healing it, for feet, lots of different injuries.
That's cool. And just while you mentioned that, I want to say, DMSO is also really good for frost nip. If you can get the gel stuff, you can put that on before they warm up and it helps prevent the tissue damage. But again, that's something you cannot use if you're racing. I think the withdrawal period on that is a month. So
What is it?
DMSO, it's like a sulfur-based,
You can buy that at Cold Spot, right?
yeah. And all they've had lately
And
is
they have
the
a liquid one.
but the freezing point is like 60 degrees or
Yeah, I've
something,
ruined
so
it
it just
before.
turns into a rock. But they used to sell the gel and it came in a container like that, and that was the best. And we would just keep that inside, and it does absorb through your pores. into
So
your
what's
bloodstream.
in that one that,
I have no idea what the difference is, and it was like the same brand.
but you said like to not use it like with obviously big races and stuff, cause
Yeah, you can't use it with drug testing and stuff.
I feel like we were introduced to that with like mid distance racing. So, but I mean, that's mid distance, that's super.
Yeah, and we would use it on wrist too, because it's anti-inflammatory, that's the word, that's what it is, and it absorbs through your bloodstream, it's really good, people use it
literally were getting a bottle
medicinally to
for,
help
like,
absorb
Western.
like other products into their skin. But it will, if you use it on yourself, if you don't use latex gloves when you handle it, everything you eat is gonna taste like sulfur. It just is in your blood, and
I literally just
But so
told
use latex
Maddie
gloves
we
with
can
it,
have
but
her
it is
dog.
like, if you get frostbite or frostnip,
She's only
it will help prevent the tissue damage as they warm back up, so.
I didn't know. We don't run it different.
I think
Big drug
that's
test.
what I had on products. So these are some pictures of different injuries. You can't see super good. The top two are fissures. They've started to heal over a little bit. And then the bottom is just like a pad, not even on the pad, but the side of the foot abrasion. The dog just has a funny gait and stripes on the side of his foot there. And I don't know, maybe is there something you guys do for that? Because I just throw a little bit of oil on it or whatever.
The
but-
like rub thing.
Yeah, the rub thing. It's more like a callus than anything, but
Yeah, it's not too big of a problem for our dogs. The most common thing that I see is the splits, the fissures, and then like a rub itself on the actual pad.
Okay.
Not so much like on the side, but I would think probably just doing like a similar thing for that, right? Like some ointment and a booty. Like that's what I'll often do. Like if I have a dog that has like a pretty bad rub on its pad, I'll bring it in the house for the night, put paint goo on, and then a booty so I can keep an eye on them, make sure, because you don't want to like put a booty on your dog and like leave them out in the yard for the night because it's quite likely they could eat it. So just if you're gonna do that, I'm suggesting putting a booty over it just because it creates that barrier and prevents them from licking the ointment off and gives the body more time for that ointment to absorb and help heal. So yeah, like bring your dog in, whether you have crates or whatever in your house, but just keep them under supervision if they're gonna have a booty on overnight.
and then this other picture I borrowed from another friend, but it's a infected nail bed. Okay, so when you have like an infected nail bed or a dog, sometimes they're clawing at the grate, they get their nail stuck and they rip it, right? Which is similar to you cutting the quick too short when you're trimming nails. And a lot of this is just like a judgment call about what, because it's subjective and it's different for every injury. What's actually more abrasive is putting the booty on or running on the snow, right? So I can't say definitely do this or definitely don't, but that's kind of like what's going through my head all the time. And another thing we will also use is liquid bandage. Okay, you can get that at Walgreens or whatever. And if you can put that on the fissures too. You paint it on, let it dry. It's kind of like a whole process. You paint it on and let it dry, paint it on and let it dry, like 3 layers maybe. And that will get you through like a day of a race, or you can put it on those nail ends, okay? Or even super glue, right? And then sometimes we get like this picture on the bottom left, but worse, like if they have maybe like a piece of ice slice their foot or something, you can take super glue and cut a piece of moleskin and glue that on. And you know, that will last a little while. I'm not sure how long it would last on a distance setting. You know, we can get a day out of it, maybe 2 days, maybe 3, and you can even do it right on their pad. Okay, if they slip on ice and slice part of their pad and they still want to run. Normally we would lay them off for that. Maybe it's your 3rd day of a race and it's your best leader and they are still wanting to be there. You can just glue a piece of moleskin on. Okay, and then it will come off in a couple days, and then you proceed with the healing treatment, boxing them, cream, powder, routine.
So I guess if we're talking about like injuries, that can segue into another foot injury that can sometimes occasionally happen, bruising on there or like a broken toe. I've had a couple dogs that have broken their toe. I don't know how, like, unbeknownst to me, it can happen just in the yard. It could happen on a run. But you'll usually see the dog favoring that foot. And really, I mean, you can get x-rays done, but you can usually just tell from like palpating their foot, they'll usually cry just from doing that. And sometimes you can even like feel it in there. If your dog has a broken or bruised toe bone, you need to lay them off for several weeks. And this goes for any injury. We'll talk about wrist injuries in a minute here. Always give your dogs more time off than you think they need. So broken toe, like I had to lay that dog off for 6 weeks at least, I think, before it fully healed. That was probably being generous. But that is in our kennel, our general rule of thumb is always give more time than you think. So should we, do you have more foot stuff you want to talk about? I don't want to like.
No, I was going to say one of our common injuries is actually metatarsal, right? Not even the toe, but like the upper foot area. We have had that happen. So also important to be feeding bone meal and calcium if you're feeding meat and get that right balance. So they're having the things to, you know, keep their bones strong and also to heal them if they do get a fracture.
Okay, so let's talk a little about wrist injuries. Munch. Oh. Teach. Come here. Do you want me to do anything for demo? Just come over here. Okay. So, Riley, how common are wrist injuries for sprint dogs for you?
Not that common for us. We've had a few, but I think maybe it's the way that they're running. It's just a little
different.
We have more shoulder and foot injuries. Yeah.
So wrist injuries are very common in long distance dogs. They're very manageable. So my husband ran class in 2020 and he had like 3 dogs with sore wrists that made it to the finish line. And you can do this. It takes a lot of like effort and babying and a lot of time. So I like to think I'm a little bit of a massage expert these days because I do a lot of wrist massages, also shoulder, but we'll focus more on wrists for now. So they're somewhat common. I wouldn't say they're like really common in my kennel. We're kind of experimenting with a few things. Harnesses, like, right, certain harnesses cause the dogs to pull differently right? So these are just things within your own kennel you want to start maybe taking notes of, and see if there's any correlation. But so with wrist injuries, so when you're unharnessing your dogs after a run, we talked about you're going to be looking at their feet. Okay, like I'm standing over my dogs, I'm undoing their tug line. So first, when I do that, I'm looking at their feet with my headlamp. I'm spreading all their toes. Okay, that one looks good. That one looks good. Then I go to, take off the harness. When I do that, and I'm taking their leg out of the harness, I'm checking shoulders, right? And especially when you lift up, you bend the wrist. If there's an injury, they're gonna let you know, right? So you're just gonna kind of say you have a sore wrist, play with it a little bit, see what's bothering them. I'm gonna bring the dog in the house, right? I'm not gonna do this like on the line. I want to do it inside where I can get their muscles nice and warm. So yeah, sometimes you'll see some swelling in here. Basically, let's see if he'll stay for a minute. So I have a couple different actually I have 3 different massage oils. The first one is Mountain Ridge. This is awesome. Measures first aid. Definitely get this stuff. This is your best friend for any sort of sore muscle, even on yourself. Like I use this on myself. This stuff is great. So it has emu oil and essential oils in it. I think rosemary is one of the main things in here. So a little goes a long way. So there's that one. I have a homemade one. I have the ingredients listed on the slide that I'll show you guys at the end here. And you can make these yourself very easily. You just need like hair oil. I put emu oil in here. That stuff is awesome for skin stuff or also like healing tissue. And then a variety of essential oils. So that's for you. I'll just take like a little bit of my palm. And you're just gonna work it. Do I get a weird echo here? You're just gonna work it into the wrist, and I like to just kind of like take my thumbs in like a circular motion. Just kind of like this. I mean, think of like if you put a massage, like what feels good for you. It's the same for the dogs. And you usually know you're doing something right because they'll kind of like melt into you. Don't be afraid to do it hard. And like, I can tell I'm usually getting like the right spot, especially if there's swelling. Kind of like a little crunchy in there. His wrist is great right now, so there's not going to be a huge result. But basically, just to give you guys a demonstration, I'm going to kind of straighten it out. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't really know how to explain massaging that well. Besides just like what would feel good for you. But don't be afraid to do it kind of hard. Because you really want to try and work the ointment in there so it absorbs in their skin. So then once you've done that for a while, I should have brought some with me. So a great thing for swelling is getting the dogs to sweat, right? So what we do, especially on races, is I'll put saran wrap around the dog's wrist. Or if I'm going to bring the dog in at home overnight, if they come back from a training run with a sore wrist, I bring them in. I'm going to do this massage, make sure there's quite a bit of oil on there. I'm going to wrap it in saran wrap. And then I'm going to put a wrist wrap on. You can buy these at Cold Spot. They're really inexpensive, and they last a long time. So you take the wrist wrap over that saran wrap, and you want it pretty tight, right? Because it'll help bring the swelling down. You don't want this to just like slip off. You can just adjust it. They're gonna like be gimping around with their legs straight, and that's how you know that it's on tight enough. So, like if you're racing, and I don't know how this works with sprint racing, I'm sure it's kind of similar. Like you're doing like a stage stop, or you have like races Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That night in between, you can do this too. But if you're like doing distance racing and you're just resting for like 4 to 6 hours, you can totally manage sore wrists this way. I have seen incredible results from doing this process, where within 4 to 6 hours, swelling has completely gone down. The dog is not even really showing that they have a sore wrist anymore. Now, I'm not telling you like keep running your dogs with injuries. Like this is something you learn over time with experience. Your dog will show you if it's bothering them, and then you should drop that dog, right? If you're in a race, if your dog is showing like visible signs of soreness, do not run that dog, drop that dog. But if you get done with a rest and you take this wrist wrap off and swelling has gone down and they're showing like major improvement, they're not limping, that dog can continue. So it's like the way that I explain this to people, if I'm like talking to tourists about injuries on races, I like compare it to us as humans for sports injuries. If you're a professional athlete and you sprain your ankle or your wrist after a game, like they're gonna like call in their professionals to give you a massage or an adjustment or whatever, so you can play in a game the next day. And usually like a sprained wrist or ankle is really not that big of a deal for a professional athlete, and it's quite similar for sled dogs. Sprained wrists are manageable. Sore shoulder, like you need to give your dog at least 2 weeks off. If you're starting to see like consistent sore wrists though in the dog, that means that they're not getting enough rest in between runs, right? So even with sore wrists, sometimes with that dog, I'll give them over a week off, sometimes 10 days. One of our best leaders, he just turned 8 in April, and he was getting a lot more sore wrists last year, so we started doing Adapon injections. I don't know if this is familiar to you guys, but Adapon it's basically like a joint lubricant. So your vet will just prescribe this to you. You might want to have them show you how to do it, but it's just like you would do a vaccine right in the nape of their neck. You'll give them an injection. It's like twice a week for 4 weeks, and then once a month for the subsequent months after. And so it just really helps with joint lubrication and slowing down arthritis. That's the biggest thing, is like when you have a dog that's showing signs of arthritis, it helps to slow that process. So that would really just be for like maybe aging dogs. So those are a few tips for wrists that I have. Do you guys have any questions about any of that stuff? I know there's a lot of information. Another thing that I've used in the past, it depends on what event you're doing. I did Rod has banned the use of CBD products. Really. So if you want to get like a topical CBD, this stuff is awesome. Like this, unfortunately, this brand went out of business. It's called Cause Effect. But there's so many of these now. I would highly recommend getting a topical CBD ointment for your dogs for things like sore wrists or sore shoulders. It can really, really help. But once again, like you need to make sure you know the restrictions of events if you're racing. Do they let you use CBD? No. Yeah, so a lot of races don't let you because, it is like technically a pain masking thing. But if you're just training or a rec musher, great thing to have on hand.
Or if you just have old dogs that like to run
Yes.
sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can get it as a liquid supplement. We use stuff from India sometimes.
They make like little treats now, little treats. But yeah, like wrist arthritis is a pretty common thing to see in dogs once they're like over the age of 7. And so like, especially if you're not racing and you just like have a rec team and you're not going 50 miles, like there's no reason why a 10, 11-year-old dog can't hang with your team. It's probably gonna just require a little bit more maintenance. And so doing something like Adapon is great. Or just like, a joint supplement for cold spot, like just like little treats that they make, or there's like oils that you can add to their food. But that's the thing with having sled dogs is like, it is a lot of maintenance. Even if you have like the best genetics dogs, there's always new things that you can learn and introduce into your routine.
And it's like those little details. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of work, but it really does pay off. Noticing those little things and treating them or taking care of them. Like we now have like 45 dogs. Normally we have like 30, which is smaller size kennel for running open class. And that's with retirees and yearlings and everybody. But one reason I think that we've been fairly successful with the small kennel is we spend the time doing all this little stuff. It makes a huge difference. And it's also like you're bonding with your dog. It's building that relationship and trust and, just that care,
Did you guys has everybody here had like adequate experience with bootying dogs? Or have any questions about booties in particular? Brands, anything like that?
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you booty your dogs a lot, do you get like rub? Do you get booty rub? Our
No.
dogs, if we use a lot of booties, especially on their front feet, they'll get like, never where the Velcro is, they'll get like a little
Yeah.
sore on there.
So we use a lot, we use Kit Mech booties. I really like these. They're definitely the cheapest, but you can buy these without the elastic Velcro. A couple benefits to that, I think might be one is the rub thing. And then also these don't collect snowballs. When you're running long distance and you have that elastic Velcro, you'll notice sometimes when you're changing booties or get back run, they get like ice and snowballs on the end of the Velcro really bad, and then they get weighted down and they fall off a lot more easily. So that's the one really nice thing about these non-elastic Velcro is that does not happen, right? Because it's not like a porous material that will collect moisture. When you're bootying your dogs, you have to do it barehanded or maybe in a thin short glove. I haven't figured out how to do that. I have frostnipped all my fingers because I don't understand how to booty without taking my gloves off.
I use those like little thin ones sometimes with the Velcro just.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously you don't want booties too tight, right? You don't want to worry about cutting off circulation, but I think you'd be surprised at how tight you can do it, because if you do it too loose, then it's gonna fly off. So it just comes with lots of experience. The first few years that I was running dogs, I was very scared of putting booties on too tight, and I'd get 2 miles down the trail and lose half my booties because they weren't on tight enough.
Someone's going behind you, picking them all
Yeah.
up. Like, just make $50.
Or like Christian would help me booty my team, so like I would do half and he would do half, and then like only the dogs that he bootied still had booties on. So Kit Mech, dogbooties.com, that is obviously like the most common brand. There's a lot of options. I do this like, they have like different thicknesses of nylon. We don't use fleece booties, use fleece booties. I like the thinner ones, right? You don't want it too thick because then the dogs can get better traction with the thinner ones. I reuse, like if we're racing, I'll buy brand new booties for racing, and then all of those used booties just get recycled for training runs after, like the next season. And usually like 50%, at least 50% of the booties from a race will end up being reusable in the future for training runs.
How do you know what size to get?
Oh, that's a great question. That was actually one thing I did want to bring up. I mean, I don't know if everybody feels the same way. Sometimes I see people with booties on their dog's feet that look way too big, which just allows for opportunity for snow to get in there and weigh them down, or make, injuries inside of the booty. So this is good. I'll just use one again here. Come here, buddy. Come back. He's like, oh. Come easy.
Stay straight.
Come here, baby.
Yeah, if you go right over there, the camera
Okay.
will be able to get you.
So this is the size booty that he wears. And you don't want it to be too snug either. but you just don't want it to be like a big bag on there, right? So this is a perfect size for him, right? It's snug, but it's not like, you don't want it to struggle to get on their foot. You want it to be easy enough to get on. What I like to do a lot of the time when I'm booting is I kind of like stick a finger in there while grabbing their toes. And then I bunch up the excess material and wrap it around this way. And believe me, like, everyone can do this however they want. This is how I have found it to be helpful. So you don't want to have like, basically like this happening, right? Because then you get this hole here that will get filled with snow. So you want to make sure that it's tight enough that that excess material is nice and snug under your Velcro there, just like that, okay? So this is, he's a pretty small dog in my kennel. He is like 55 pounds maybe. Kit Mick, these I think are medium. And then anything smaller than that would be too small for his feet. And then the larges are too big for him. So, do you have any other questions about booties?
Do you do the bunching up towards the back on the front legs and?
Yeah, so, you know, ideally you want the logo in the front where like the sticky part of Velcro is. And then I bunch up. Well, I guess I kind of do it like back side.
Because when she did it.
And then, so Velcro's in the front. You have a question?
Yeah, do the dog's feet ever get hot inside their booties?
Yeah, so that's a great question actually. So sled dogs perspire, they sweat through their pads of their feet. So if you're racing like in late March or you're training in late March, you do have a concern about your dogs getting too hot with booties on their feet, right? Say it's like 32 degrees and sunny out, right? Like right around freezing. There definitely can be a concern of your dogs getting hot with booties on, right? Because it's not really letting them sweat through their feet. So if you're just like going out for fun or on a shorter training run, like, and it's warm and sunny, like you do not need to boot your dog's feet. If you're running a Iditarod, pretty much everyone's still booting their dog's feet, even if it's like right around freezing, just because it's like for longevity. But if you're noticing like it's sunny and warm spring day and your dogs are panting a lot, do you guys know how to check the hydration on your dogs? Yeah, I meant to ask this earlier when we were talking about hydration. So there's a couple ways to do this. Obviously, their pee, right? When they're peeing, if their pee is nice and clear, great hydration. The easiest way is to snap their fur on their nape, right? So if you take your dog's fur and you kind of like lift it up, if it snaps right back, they're super hydrated. If it's like a slow recoil, they're not hydrated enough, right? Their skin elasticity will tell you that they don't have proper hydration. You can also tell the tackiness of their gums too. So if you like lift up their lip and you kind of like run your thumb around there, if it's like tacky, they need more water. We feed our dogs with 5-gallon buckets. We make a soup every night for them, whether it's summer or winter. If I'm just feeding kibble, I'm always mixing in water with it. In the winter, when we're feeding beef and fish, the dogs are always getting all of their hydration through their meals.
You have this one dog that always spills it.
Yeah. I think we all have that dog. Now I'm not gonna tell you how to train your dogs. That's not an option in our kennel. When you spill your food, we are not, like, that's not allowed, right? Because now
You
you're,
take it away or?
Yeah.
Okay.
and I know some people have mixed feelings about that, so I'm not gonna tell you you should or shouldn't do that. But if it is about my dog's health and hydration and them not being properly hydrated when they're running 100 miles in a day, I'm going to work on training that, because that's dangerous in my opinion, right?
It feels to us now that it's cold, it's better, she drinks it.
Mhm.
But when it was still warmer, she spills every morning, not in the evening, but every morning she spills her food. It's the first thing she
Yeah, it's a
does.
huge pain in the butt. So another thing you can do if you don't wanna like take their food away is you can soak it, right? So then the kibble
Yeah, we
absorbs a
do
lot
this, we
more
went
moisture.
so that at least they get
Yeah.
a certain amount of water.
Yeah.
We have it long soaked in cold water, so that she gets
Yeah,
at
that's still
least
good.
a certain amount of water.
What about putting like, we attach our pails to our dog houses. So I would say half my kennel would choose to knock over their bowl if they had the choice. But we have a little eye bowl and a little snap and a little S hook and a little pail. Like their pails,
Yeah,
but bigger,
this is what we do.
double,
We do the
double, triple the
size
size.
too. Yep.
And I'll see some of my dogs, they'll go to hit it to like knock the water out. And once in a while, I'll just yell at that dog and sit there and help them eat, watch them eat. But they can't just spill the water. It's attached to their house. Like they have to literally knock it over for it to spill. So
you feed the
they
soup,
can't.
you feed soup in those buckets as well. I have those
Yeah,
buckets
mine's
in the
a
summer so
soupy
that they have
stew.
water available the whole time, and that's attached to the.
Yeah, we don't feed a soupy stew in the summer. We just give them dog kibble on their houses and they have full access to pails on their house 24/7 when it's above freezing.
Yeah.
But with my dogs will not eat a soggy kibble out of a bowl. They're very spoiled. All 30 of them. All 30 of them.
We found like feeding the
All
water
30
with
of them.
different things too. Like some dogs, we have some dogs that only want chicken.
They're the
or
Yeah.
Some dogs that like beef. Some dogs want liver or beaver or you know.
Yeah, I mean,
They don't
like,
eat their sleep inside.
unless you guys are like planning on
It's trying to be
racing,
really bad.
it's really not a big
Yeah.
concern.
When you make the turns,
Of course, you want
or
your
fit on your
dogs to
pail
be
and just sit at the end of
hydrated,
the chain
but
and just
this
stare
is
and watch
really
it.
just
And that
super
means-
concerning when you're racing,
Right.
you know, or doing long training runs.
Um,
So I feed a Nook Shook and that stuff is like rock, just sinks to the bottom. So what if you guys feed that food and you're struggling with that, we also started putting like a couple scoops in our buckets of Nutrinuts from Costco. But basically it's like a floaty kibble. We call it cornflakes. The dogs are like crappy cornflakes or whatever. And just like some floaters in there will help kind of entice them. But yeah, I mean, it's a pain in the butt. I think everybody has spillers in their kennel.
We have some dogs and we, instead of giving them the 4-cup scoop or whatever, we give them half a cup and walk back and do another, and they'll drink a little bit. Some will only drink in those spill bowls with a little tiny bit. Some of them want a deep one and I go back through and pulse them out. But it's like, it's so important. We try to manage that, right? Especially when we're racing and stuff too.
Another thing that I do for those dogs that are really picky about having too much liquid in their bowl is like, I'll kind of like pile up the kibble on one side. Because they don't like to go snorkeling, as I say, right? Like they don't want to stick their nose in the water and blow bubbles. It like freaks them out. So, the couple of dogs that are really annoying without too much liquid, I'll give them like, you know, their first heaping scoop that's like mostly meat and kibble and just kind of like pile it up.
So that they.
And then maybe put a little bit of liquid in there in addition to that scoop. But I'll usually just do like one heaping scoop of the like meaty kibble stuff. And then if they finish it, I'll come back around and maybe give them a little bit more liquid and see if they want it. And then like the spillers, though, I just like stand there and watch them. Because it's all, as soon as you turn your back, they're like, and so just like stand there and watch them. Maybe they'll sit there and protest, maybe they'll be like, oh, you're fine.
It's a new dog, so
on the
she has
ground,
to get
like
used
this,
to
on the
all
house.
whole different environment and
Yeah.
feeding routine
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and how we.
Got food anxiety.
So she was, I think she's.
She's
When
not
it's
doing
cold,
it now.
yeah, when
Once it got
it's cold, it's now she's good. Now she drinks.
Another trick that we have for our dogs, like on races that are really picky about eating, especially given liquid, is putting wet cat food in there. I don't know why, it's disgusting, it smells horrible, but they
That's
love
why,
it.
that's why they want it.
Yeah, they're like, it smells rotten. And you can get those like little pouches of this stuff nowadays, right? So you can like, you know, carry it in your layers to keep it from freezing, or if you're camping, you can throw it in your cooker water to thaw it out. or
Sometimes we'll use tuna.
or bacon, or
Anything,
hot
yeah.
dogs. Like you gotta get creative with those picky.
High value meats.
Yeah. Oh, before I forget, since we're talking about risks and injuries, so I recently got a cold laser. So usually when you think of these, you're like, oh my gosh, they're so expensive. There's no way I can ever afford it. My vet recommended this one to me. It's the brand is Equalaser. The full retail price is like $500. This was on sale 50% off on their website. And I'm not fully convinced it's ever full price because for the last year it's been 50% off. So it's $250 and it just comes with this little kit. It's just like a little wand. It has a timer on it. It comes with your glasses. You have to wear your eye protection and it's just rechargeable. So the ones that they have at the vet, those are like really expensive, super high quality. They can like laser something at the vet for like a minute and it's like really healing super fast. The cheaper ones, you're getting what you pay for. If they're a little bit inexpensive like these that are like a few $100s, you're just gonna have to spend a lot more time lasering your dog. So the benefits of lasering is it promotes cell regeneration and blood flow. So if you've got a sore wrist, a strain, even if you just had a dog that got spayed or something, you can do laser on the incision and it helps healing, like speeding up healing time. On your fissures, yes. On yourself. So they have like a ton of these on Amazon now too. You have to read the reviews like very diligently because some of them you're like, oh, $75. It's a piece of crap. Like don't waste your money. If it's at least a couple $100, it might be worth it. So just go to the reviews. And just see what people say. You know, this is really just like a nice thing to have for your dogs. It's not necessary. If you really want to pay for high quality laser, just bring your dog to a vet that has one for like a serious injury. But if you're just talking about like a sore wrist or maybe your dog got spayed and you want to like heal an incision faster or something, like this is, I think this is worth spending a few $100s to see if it works for your dogs. And that way you haven't like put yourself in debt for thousands of dollars over a machine. So, yeah.
I'm just gonna circle back to a couple things that you talked about, like with the booties. For us, just the way that the dogs run differently, or maybe it's the same, I don't know, but if the dog has a booty that's too big, okay, their front feet, and it's gonna be hitting, and they're gonna be clipping, and it's gonna cause abrasions on their other legs. Either their back feet will rub their fronts, or their front feet will rub their hocks. So, and then if the booty is too small, the dogs can't spread their feet out to actually get their traction and run, right? So, and I said we don't booty the front feet very often unless we have to. But when our dogs do have fissures and we do use booties, we also cream under the booty in case the booty flies off, and then they have some type of protection under there. Okay, and then one thing I forgot to mention earlier is when the dogs do have fissures, okay, you're taking care of them. Maybe you didn't see it right off, but it's already started to heal. And if you look at it, and it will have like almost like a little black crusty line scab on the side. Okay, so that is actually kind of prohibiting the healing. Okay, so when you see that, what you want to do is soak your dog's feet. You can use Epsom salts or soapy water. What we like to do is a tip I learned from another musher is to take like chlorhexidine and mix it with warm water, and you can use soap too, and pour it in the bottom of the kennel. Okay, like an inch, half an inch, and stick the dog in the kennel, and they have to stand there. They're not gonna lay down in the water probably, right? They have to soak their feet. And I don't know, maybe 10 minutes per dog, and then you take them out and you peel that scab off, and it's like a deep breathing wound, right? And now they have fresh skin that you're gonna treat, and it will heal quicker. It will heal a lot quicker that way. If the dog We have one dog that had CUPS, CUPS, which is where she was actually had a really weak immune system and was allergic to her own dental plaque. She had to have a full mouth extraction, but what we're seeing is her feet were horrible all the time. So we would have to put her on cephalexin. Okay, sometimes you're gonna put your dogs on antibiotics, and that will help. Okay, that's when it's really, really bad and chronic. You might talk to your vet about some cephalexin. And the kennel trick, that's great though. It's like spa day for the dogs, right? You could also use betadine. That's like an iodine solution. I like this. I think you can still get this right at Cold Spot. It doesn't sting, right? Like alcohol will sting them. This is, what's the other name for it? Novosan, something like that. The blue stuff they use at the vet. And that's it. This is just a picture of our trailer, the dog boxes. I don't know, you can see the pails. We just use one of those grass snaps and clip it right to the door. Okay, so 2 dogs in a box and they share water, or we put one in at a time and make sure they drink overnight. And I think that's the only 2 things I was like.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up my ingredient list here. Where is that, Riley?
You're just gonna escape,
Right
and yours is down here. Or not, or it's behind this one.
Okay.
Just close that one
This one? Okay. Oh, full screen?
Yeah.
Nope.
You can just close that one.
I swear I'm on the menu.
The green.
Okay.
The green one.
Okay, so if you guys are interested in making your own massage oil, here is my ingredient list, or if you just want to take a picture of this. So yeah, emu oil, like I mentioned, is great anti-inflammatory, promotes healthy skin. If you go to Sunshine Health, you can get all this stuff. You can order stuff online, but it's just like a tiny little dropper bottle, like 1 or 2 ounces or something. And I think I put the whole thing in here. So yeah, like that much of this will be emu oil. And then you have helichrysum, cedarwood, peppermint. Those are the essential oils that I personally really like. They smell really good, but they also all have really good healing properties. So I looked basically when I was making this, I was like, well, I want to make sure that these are all okay for dogs to eat, right? Because they're going to do a lot of licking. So all of these are safe for dogs to ingest. A few others that you can do are rosemary, lavender, chamomile, frankincense, and eucalyptus. So those are all canine friendly. And for the oil that you're using, so I do a combination, but I usually do mostly avocado oil. And then almond oil is another one, or olive oil. Dogs aren't supposed to eat a lot of nuts, so just don't use too much almond oil, but a little bit's okay. I think that's really my only thing there. And then I have, these are just some like brands for stuff. So yeah, dogbooties.com and Kitmik Productions for booties. And then Musher's First Aid by Mountain Ridge. That was the massage oil that you can buy. And then Pink Goo, Dr. May sells that at Golden Heart. So, yeah. Do you guys have any questions? And the stuff in Mountain Ridge is really inexpensive. It's like $30 or something.
All my harnesses from.
Oh, really?
They have
Yeah.
great stuff.
And they're from Maine, so I'm from Maine, and Riley's from Maine, so of course we like to promote Maine stuff.
The Mountain Ridge stuff, when we get it, is it an online thing?
Yep. And they sell some other products too, like
They'll actually ship to Alaska?
yeah.
We just got about it.
I was just on their website the other night.
Awesome.
I haven't tried their other like rubs and ointments and stuff, but they have a few different options on there. So. That's a
Yeah, this is just a list of the stuff we use.
Oh, they do?
And let's see.
Will these be available online too via smart
Yeah, this is gonna be on the YouTube channel about after we do editing and stuff, so it'll be up there. And this is, just what I use in the, like, preventative oil. We make that ourselves, but you can get all that stuff at Sunshine too, mostly.
Can you go back to the other slide?
Which
real
one?
quick? The one right before this with the other.
This one?
Yes, please,
Yeah.
thank you.
So this is everything I have in my bag of tricks, basically.
Thank you.
Riley brought up yarrow earlier.
Oh, yeah, the yarrow is great.
Yarrow is amazing. You can buy, like, if you're gonna use this on a wound, so I've had dogs that have wounds, and like I literally will just like pack on some yarrow powder, and it's super fast healing. But you just wanna make sure it's like really, really, really finely ground stuff. You don't want like any little seeds or anything in there. So you can go online, you can buy yarrow powder. They probably sell it at Sunshine Health Foods too, I would imagine. I personally
Probably,
just
yeah.
make my own. Like, there's yarrow everywhere in the summer, so you can harvest it, dry it, and then I use like a coffee grinder, an electric coffee grinder to just like really, really finely.
Do you grind the whole thing or just the
Just the
glue?
flowers.
Just the flowers?
Mhm,
Okay.
Yeah,
You can use the leaves too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just the
And you
flowers.
can buy, Sunshine does have the dried flowers. You can go online, like Star West Botanicals or, Frontier Co-op has a lot of different dried herbs and herbals of it.
You ever use plantain?
I do. Yep, we use it in our healing ointment and, I put it in the stuff too, comfrey also. That really helps with the cell regeneration as well. One thing is you don't want to put it on like a puncture wound because it can actually cause it to heal so fast that it heals over instead of from the inside out. So other than that, it's great for everything, yeah.
Any other questions?
Question about like dog nails, I've had dogs that absolutely just use other nails from, and at one point I just gave up, because I'm like, it is not worth the struggle. I had like 2 people trying to hold down this dog and trim their nails, but I know it's also it's not good for them to have really long nails. I guess at what point do you just like just not trim their nails, or like do you have any techniques to trim the nails of your dog? That's very difficult to deal with.
I haven't tried it yet, but I keep seeing it online. It's the peanut butter trick. You like take the saran wrap and put peanut butter on your forehead. I haven't tried this yet. Has anyone actually tried this before?
No,
So
but
there's
trained puppies, yeah.
you like put saran wrap on your forehead and like peanut butter, and then the dog just gets so distracted looking at the peanut butter off and does that. You like quickly trim their nails.
Something else I've seen, so you can get like sandpaper material put on the board, and you teach them to stretch it, and you have, it takes a lot longer, but like as they go stretching,
She's
you
like,
can
okay,
that,
then
and
it's
like
like
a
cheese.
file their nails down, and it turns
I just
out
trained my
versus
cousin's puppies.
them not liking
Yeah.
that.
Some folks use a thermal also, and some dogs prefer that, but actually, we were talking about this last night, and if you have small dogs, what you can do is take one of those tote bags and cut 4 holes in it and make like a sling and just hang them up and, yeah. So maybe we need to make it industrial and that one, yeah.
Did you have a question?
So I have a Jack Russell Terrier that
I only have one dog that he doesn't like his cosmetic touch, but if you flip it, it's really
that dog
just
eats
straight
now.
now. He's like dead. He's a
He
shaky
does
dog.
with big dogs.
Whitney
Don't
McLaren
like
has
the
a
nail
picture
cut too. And my husband's a little bigger and taller.
the
They'll pull the
checkpoints
dog.
of my husband booting
They'll
him,
just,
and he's just like
pull
straight
that
up,
when
and
the
it's
dog
funny because she,
And then that when he was born.
Yeah, we have one that's
Whitney.
not that big, I mean, never stand still for a second, and we really have to rest on him. I just do it constantly, if I get a couple, I'm happy, and then I do the next couple the next day, and then I do the next couple, I mean, really, this is, I know that
He's like a little
will not be able to do all of them in one setting, it's not, I know it's not possible, because he will hate you even more, and he will hate it even more, and he will fight it even more. So he gets treats, and I do a few, and then I try again the next time. So it's a little bit difficult to monitor, because, you know, they are in different, little bit different lengths, but I do it often. So, but that's, yeah, not in one session, but.
There's also, I keep seeing ads for these dog clippers now, it's like cylinder shape, and then like, it must be some sort of like Dremel inside of it, but there's just like an opening big enough.
We
for
have,
them to,
like,
we actually took the opening thing off.
We took the opening thing off, it was just grammar,
Okay.
and it works great,
But it
again,
takes time.
for small dogs, it's super easy.
But for bigger dogs.
For my goldies, it's good because they accept everything I do to them. But to this dog that we got as an adult dog, and it's just a weirdo, and he wouldn't stand still, I tried it. But the risk of injuring him with this Dremel kind of thing somewhere else while he's all over the place, it's more than me just being fast and trying to clip. The thing with him is he has white nails, so I don't have to be extremely careful with the nails. I can see where the clip is. So I can cut fast without moving too far.
Right. Try the feeler and report back to me.
Yes, and we send it on, I think visible online.
Yeah.
You just try.
Yeah, if I do peanut butter on my head, it's gonna eat my face.
That's the great one. Peanut butter is one bite and the flavor is gone.
Like one of those tops, peanut butter inside. You just, that's what I do.
Someone's touching on their head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The dog just wants to eat the wall.
I love getting.
Oh my God.
I know, that's just we're all on their faces, and they're looking at each other, and camera on their forehead.
Oh my God.
Oh, it's just like a show for me.
It does.
So proper. Yeah. Take you today.
Any other questions?
So my chickens, my chickens, on accident, like all done food.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Before we end, there are books behind us, they're for sale. There's also raffle tickets. The pot is currently at $57 and odd change. If you want to go buy one, the pot for drawing, chance to win $750. I believe it's April, you said? Yep, they're drawing. So yeah. Don't miss out before you walk out. Thank you.
And so if you use the trails here, get your trail pass, get a membership, support the club, right?
Feel free to come up.